this is Carla and welcome back to the studio, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Throwback Thursday. So for this Thursday we're going to go a little bit nautical, and we are going to use the retired By the Bay suite collection. So in this suite we have the Seaside Bay Cling stamp set, a lot of nice images here of some birds and a crab and some shells, and yeah, and some nice greetings in it as well. Along with that, there's the coordinating Seaside Bay set of dies. Now you have dies that do cut out the stamped images, plus you have this one edging type die here, and then there's a few in here that are more detailed, so they're not coordinated with any of the stamp set. They're just kind of standalone. And then there was also the By the Bay 6x6 Specialty Designer Series paper. So this paper has Balmy Blue, Coastal Cabana, Mint Macaron, Night of Navy, Petal Pink, Pool Party, Sahara Sand, Basic White, and then there's some foiling that's in gold and iridescent as well. And then also there is the flat adhesive back pearls. These come in two different sizes, and these are actually still available, and they're in our current annual catalog. Now there was one other item that was in this suite, and it was a ribbon, Balmy Blue and White, and it was a nice thin ribbon that you can make some nice bows with, but I do not have that ribbon, so of course we're not going to be using it in any of our projects today. So let me bring in the stuff for our first card. So I have a piece of Pool Party cardstock. This measures 8.5 by 5.5, and I've scored it at 4.25. I have a piece of Basic White that measures 5.5 by 3 1/8. I have a piece, and you can see some of the iridescent in there. So this is a piece of that By the Bay DSP. This measures 5.5 by 3. And then I have some scraps of Basic White, Balmy Blue, Crumb Cake, Petal Pink, Mint Macaron, and then I just cut out of the DSP one of the birds in there. The die that's in the set of dies will cut this out. So I'm going to set this aside because I'm going to do all my die cutting at the same time. So let me bring in the die for that. So here's the one with the bird. I know that there's a specific name for this bird. I don't know if it's a piper. I don't know, but he's a cool bird. So that's going to be die cut. And then, like I mentioned, there were some dies in here as well that are just detailed dies. So I have these shells here. So I am going out of the, let's see, the two larger pieces, I'm going to die cut these larger shells here. And then there's a set of two smaller ones, but I only need one of each that's after I throw the die. I'm going to die cut one of each out of the Balmy Blue and the Mint Macaron. And then on this piece here, I'm going to stamp my greeting, and I'm going to die cut it using this die. And this die comes from the Countryside Corners dies, and these are still available in our current annual catalog. So I'm going to start off with folding and burnishing my card base. Okay, and I'm going to set that aside, and then I'm going to bring in both of these pieces here. Let me get my Stampin' Seal, and let's make sure that this is on its track. It was starting to come off earlier. Okay. And then I'm going to center that on this piece of Basic White. Now, this is the same height as the basic white, so it's 5.5, and there's just a little small white border on either side. Okay, and then I'm going to take this and I'm going to adhere this to my card base. So the cards that I am doing for this Thursday are fairly simple cards. There's not a whole lot of detail to them, so these would be nice cards if you ever wanted to mass produce them or just make a bunch of them and, kind of have them aside and not put a greeting on it, so then that way you can put whatever greeting that you need, for that card at the time. Okay, so I'll set that aside. I'm going to bring in my Night of Navy ink, and I'm going to stamp the greeting that says, "Thank you for everything." And I'm going to stamp that right in the middle, like so. And I got my Stampin' Scrub right here on the side, so I'll quickly clean that stamp. Okay, and then again, this will be the die that I die cut this out. So I am going to bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I will be right back. Okay, so let me bring in all of my pieces, and I am going to take this greeting and I'm going to add a couple of dimensionals on here on either end, and then I want to bring in, what do I want to bring in? I want to bring in my linen thread, and I'm going to do a double bow, a double looped bow. I really like tying those using the linen thread. And I get my scissors. Okay. And cut my bow. Okay. I do want this a little bit longer. I think that'll work. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to snip the loops, and I'm going to trim this down a little bit. Okay. And then I am going to add a couple of dimensionals on the back of my bird. Okay. And I'm going to add him right about here. And then on these shells, I'm going to bring in my adhesive. I'm going to add some to the back. Add this one here. Now, as I build up on these shells, what I want to do is I want to put some Wink of Stella on them. So I'm going to add some to the top of this one before I put the other one over it. Now it does look a little dark when I put this on, but as it dries it is going to lighten up. And this is a new Winka Stella pen, so it's going to be a little more sparkly. Then I'll add this one right down here and brush some on here. And then put a little bit on these smaller ones. And place this one right about here. Again, add a little wink on that. And then let's bring in our mint macaron shell. And I'll add that one right there. Okay. And then on this greeting piece here, I'm going to add a little bit of my adhesive. And I'm going to take my linen thread and I'm going to stick it down in that like so. Let me remove these paper backings. And then I will place this right across it. Like so. And then last but not least, I'm going to bring in these flat adhesive backed pearls. And I'm going to add a few of these on here. So I'm going to place one there and then two smaller ones, like one in the middle of those shells and one right there. Okay, so there is our first card. On to our second. Okay, so for my second card, I have a piece of basic beige. This is one of our new colors that came out this year in our annual catalog. This measures 8.5 by 5.5, and I've scored it at 4 1/4. I have a piece of by the Bay DSP. This measures 5 by 1.5. And where's the other piece? I have another one. And did I lose it already? Yeah, it's in my sample card. Okay, there's another piece, and you can see there's a little bit of like this iridescent foil that's in this paper. So this is actually the other side of this pattern. This piece measures 4.5 by 1. And then I have a couple of scraps. So I have a scrap of basic beige, petal pink, and then a piece of that by the Bay DSP. So for this DSP, I am going to use this stitch circle, and this comes from the Stylish Shapes dies. This is currently in our annual catalog, so let me set that aside. For this petal pink piece, this is one of the detailed dies that's in the Seaside Bay set. So you got some detail on the one side, and these two little marks right here, they that's a crease line that it does that it is a crease line that that puts that in your cardstock, so then you can easily fold this. And so I'm going to take that and I'm going to die cut the petal pink. That was rough trying to describe what I was doing with that. I don't know what was up with that. Okay, so this piece of the basic beige, I'm going to stamp my greeting. And I'm going to stamp that in Night of Navy. And the greeting is, "You are a pearl, rare and precious." And I'm going to take this and I'm going to stamp it right in the middle. And it doesn't matter if it's a little bit crooked. That's okay, because we're going to be die cutting it. And the die that I'm going to use to die cut that is this one right here. And that comes from the Nested Essentials dies. And these two are also in our current annual catalog. So I will die cut that. And let me go ahead and fold and burnish my card base. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in my adhesive. I'm going to add some to the back of this piece. And I'm going to center it from top to bottom and come in a little bit from the left. And then on this piece, I'm going to add some adhesive to the back of this. And I'm going to kind of center that between that DSP. Let me go up a little bit more, like so. And then, let's see what's next. The die cutting part is next. So let me set that aside. Let me bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I'll be right back. Okay, so let me bring in all of our pieces. So on this shell, I'm going to fold this in half. Now there is a little bit of kind of like a edge type. So like when you fold it, if you wanted to take one of those adhesive back pearls to put it in there, then that way it wouldn't crush it, I guess you can say. But yeah, that's how it looks once it's folded. So I'm going to take some of my adhesive. I'm going to add some to the back of this. Actually, we're not going to stick that down yet because we have to put this down first. So I'm going to take this die cut circle and I am going to place that kind of like in the middle right here and off to the side, like so. Then I'm going to stick this down right here. And I'm going to add a bit of Wink of Stella to the top of this. And then I'll even put a little bit on the inside as well. Okay. And then I'm going to take one of these large pearls and I'm going to take this one right here and I'm going to place that right in the center of my shell, like so. So we'll put that aside. And then on this piece here, I'm going to bring in my dimensionals. And I'm going to stick this right over this side, like so. And then I'm going to take my linen thread. I just feel that the way linen thread looks, that it's a must-have if you're doing a nautical card. It's just my opinion. I'm going to trim this. Okay, and then I'm going to do my bow. So actually that's not very even. I want to try and have an even amount on my tails. Okay. Kind of make this one loop. Didn't want to go. Okay, and then what I want to do is I actually want to do something really cool with this. I want to do 2 knots on each one of these tails. So I just think that looks really neat. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And right there. And we'll do one more. There we go. And just trim this a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in some glue dots. Now these glue dots that I have here are actually from a past paper pumpkin kit. So when I have all these, it just makes sense to use them. So nothing goes to waste. And now I'm going to take this bow and I'm going to put that in my glue dot. And I just think that looks really cool. A nice little effect with the knots in the linen thread. So there is our second card. So let me bring in the first one. So did this one. This one's nice and soft in its colors and just has that nice beachy feel to it. And then we did this one where we used this shell die that we added our little pearl on the inside, and we did this really cool technique with our linen thread, making a double bow and then just adding a couple of knots in the tails of that bow. So I thank you for joining me. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. It does help me in not only growing my channel, but it also helps me in building my Stampin' Up! Business. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. And until next time, everyone have a blessed one. Bye-bye.